Now, Matt, I met you probably maybe 10 or 12 years ago up at Brisbane, and I saw a boy then, and now there's a hardness to you.
If you've got Victor as your coach, you certainly get a bit tougher over the years.
17 international regattas in succession. This is something that this country has never ever seen before. This is, in Victor's words, this is domination, world domination. What do you think about that?
It's quite interesting. I mean, as with anything, I mean, probably most notable in sport, preparation is key. The most satisfying feeling for us is being able to go into each of these events knowing that if we prepare properly, that we'll be able to get the outcome.
So Will, what's Mum and Dad think about all this?
Mum's just happy I got my uni degree out of the way. Yeah, for sure, I think they're very happy. My dad was a rugby player, and I think before my 3 younger sisters came along, he always had dreams of a whole football team of his own. So now that he sees me in the sport of sailing, and he sees my body build, I think he's probably happy that I made the right choice. And as has been said tonight, sailing's a choice for life in a way. It's given me an amazing opportunity in terms of my personal development, and yeah, I'm just a kid that loves to sail and highly competitive. So to be on a pathway and on a journey in a way with Victor and Matt, it's pretty exciting.
So over coffee, I noticed that various questions that I was firing around, you're actually checking Victor to see his reaction. Are you scared of Victor or what?
If Victor told me to go get his coffee, I'd definitely go and get his coffee.
So tell us about when the decisions are really on the line. For example, this picture here, I think it's really fascinating. I don't know whether you folks have seen it, but there's Matt looking up at the sail, presumably the mainsail.
You hope so.
Hope so.
I was hoping that they would pick a photo that I was actually hiking, because Victor keeps looking at it and thinks I'm slackening off the whole time. So,
and there's Will maximising his long frame. What do you weigh, Will?
Am I allowed to say Victor?
Now, Tommy was saying that they found new modes with the America's Cup where they effectively, when they were empowered and were able to do it, they went from 20 odd knots to 30 knots upwind. This was all new. They discovered that during the racing. You boys are in the business of subplaning and then you go for it. Is that an intuitive feel? Is that as a result of thousands of hours of practice, or?
We wanted to put hydrofoils on it just to see how it would go.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's time in the boat for us for sure.
You know when the boat can be released? How does it feel? What do you do? Do you nudge each other and say, let's go, let's give it a
Sailing with the best sailor in the world, I'm not allowed to say too much, but sometimes I give him a little bit of a kick with my foot and just say, come on Matty, let's go. When he hikes, we go a lot faster.
So, ladies and gentlemen, what we have here is a team who are dominating the world, and we're very privileged to have them on stage. Thank you very much.
What sits alongside me now are the greatest examples of sportsmanship, of the Olympic spirit, of fair play and outstanding achievement. So Glenn, you enjoy speed, don't you? We don't clap. He's a raft sailor, not too much. And you get the rafting. Slingsby. Tom, what's your background?
I remember getting beaten by Nathan all the time, and I wanted a change, and my older sister bought a laser, and I thought, that sounds really good. And my dad said, you can't have a laser, you're too small. I was 45 kilos. I convinced him to get me a laser, and I remember when I first started sailing the laser, I used to have to put brown duct tape on the bottom of the boat with my name. I actually wrote my name, Tom, so that whenever I capsized, the rescue boats could come help me up, because I didn't weigh enough to stand on the centreboard and get the boat upright. So I was a bit of a liability for the rescue boats, and whenever I capsized, it was race over.
Perhaps they should have done that to Glenn when he nearly tipped the big boat in,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about a little bit later. The America's Cup guys became interested in you. When did it all unfold for you, sailing these great craft?
In the middle of the Olympics, I got an email, asking if I was interested to join Artemis, and I just wrote back and said I got a bid on at the moment, and let me talk to you in a couple of weeks. So it sort of was progressing throughout last year, and it's amazing what can happen if you take your opportunities when they come.
Glenn, you brought these guys together because if it wasn't for you, they would have never got on to catamarans, rafts, whatever you want to call them in their lives. You brought these guys together and you've made them in. Have they thanked you enough for what you have done? Tom, over to you. The America's Cup. You and Spittle, Oracle, had the money, had the big program. I've read some great interviews that you've given about wanting to be with successful people, etc. like that. What led you into it? How did you, who approached you, and what gave you, what decision-making process do you go through?
I think it was 2011, Hamilton Island Regatta. I was up there for the yachts, and I met Jimmy Spithill, and he said, "Oh, we've got to catch up and have a chat." And he offered, he said, "Would you like to come join the team after the Olympics?" And for me, that was just sort of the perfect thing. Like, we said, "Do you want to join the team?" And I said, "Oh, look, I'd love to, but I've got an Olympic campaign." And he said, "No, that's fine. As soon as you finish the Olympics, come join us."
Nice of Jimmy to say that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was nice. And then, so that's what I did. I finished the Olympics, I joined Oracle, and I went and looked up all YouTube videos and found all these videos and grinding technique, how to get the most out of your technique, and using the hips and whatever it is. And I became obsessed with it. When they were all out sailing every day, I just sat there on the grinding machine for hours and said, "I'm going to become a grinder, I'm going to get on the boat." And then eventually Jimmy and all that noticed, and they said, "Okay, well, he's driven, that's for sure." And then they said, "Well, in the back pedestal there's John Kostecki at the back, and then there's a grinder, and then there's Jimmy." And they said, "Well, it would be really good to have a strategist, but looking at a different role and helping the tactician and seeing things that they might not." And they said, "Well, Tom can grind and he knows wind and tactics," and so I was put into that role, and it was a perfect fit for me. And from then on, I sailed every day on the boat. As of about April, I sailed every day, and all the way to the end of the Cup, and yeah, that's the story.
I think what a great story! What a great story! I think one of the interviews I read about you, Tom, was that nobody spent more time on the water than you, which just shows not only your dedication, giving us the insight to the grinders, but if there's one sailor that was on the water every day, it was Tom Slingsby. So it just shows your dedication and the great qualities that you have. Let me get back to you, Nathan. Short program, funding perhaps wasn't the greatest. You went through that disaster where I think you said the boat ended up like a taco, the unfortunate loss of a great mate of yours on the water. Did you think did you the next day want to get back on the water, or did you think this is all over? Or how did you reconcile with it all, and what was the program, and what was the decision-making process to get back on the water?
Yeah, it's been a very interesting year, to be honest. To start the year off, must have been February, lining up with slingers and the boys, and I remember them sailing from directly behind straight through to leeward and out the other side, and I said to the guys, "Are you sure foiling's not faster?" So I was like, oh shit, so it's up to me and Goobs to make sure that this thing's going to happen. And I'm like, I know Perce well, and he's just like, oh no, you boys will be fine. I'm like, mate, you're giving like this $15 million boat to these 2 kids from Australia who can sail a 49er pretty good.
Tom, in very simple terms, one of the most outstanding achievements in sport, bigger than what Johnny did in 1983. There was a lot of talk about the technology, the days off, that Boeing came down, improved that. I'm not asking you to comment specifically on those things, but from where you started from to winning the America's Cup, just in a couple of minutes, just encapsulate what were the big issues that you addressed and how did you get there?
Whenever I do an interview and they say, what did you change? And I list out all these small things that we changed. To me, it sounds like I'm lying as well, like that all these little things could make such a big difference, but it really did. It really snowballed, so we changed the wing tune of the boat. We knew we needed a lower, faster groove to match Team New Zealand, and we changed the wing tune to do that, and that gave us a lower, faster groove.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the group of these fine athletes, these 4 athletes up here, to all of those that are involved with this outstanding sport in Australia. Thank you for being here tonight. It's been a pleasure, and can you please thank these gentlemen for their participation.